Good afternoon, class. Today I will be talking to you about AT&T and T-Mobile, an antitrust case. What is antitrust? Well, it's a federal act preventing or controlling trust and other monopolies with the intention of promoting competition in business. Introduction. In 2011, AT&T proposed an argument to merge with AT&T. Merge caused transfer of electromagnetic spectrum from Duke Telecom to AT&T. The gain had to pass the Federal Communications Commission review, and then again get reviewed by the Department of Justice Antitrust Division to address the standard competition concerns, while others were still abroad. Okay, so the point of this merger was to increase. It was to increase initial coverage that's AT&T have in the U.S. from 80% to 97%. Point of views. This could be essential monopoly due to the merger of AT&T increased prices for potential consumers, as well as low quality with less options for advanced networking consumers. So the reason this merger didn't really go through, it was because well, FCC claimed that so I'm trying to find the notes that I wrote for this. Okay, so the reason they stopped it was because AT&T is a really huge company, and by them allowing them access to merge, it was going to cause
Just moving along.
I can't find my notes that I wrote for it. Okay, the issue. The carriers merging was a violation of the Department of Justice Antitrust Division due to the involvement in transfer of electromagnetic spectrum license between T-Mobile and AT&T. The outcome. Due to the violation of the Antitrust Act, the result on the merger resulted in failure to launch. AT&T agreed to pay a $3 billion bailout, as well as a roaming agreement since acquisition didn't meet regulations. So what really happened was AT&T wanted to merge with T-Mobile so they could because they have this Jesus, where it is? Okay, I think I'm gonna just stop here because I can't.
Next one, Colin.
Border around there.
Hit F11. See if that helps.
F11?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, basically, case I'm here presenting today is U.S. versus Microsoft, and it's an antitrust case for numerous violations. And okay, so basically, Antitrust Institute is a violation of laws, to protect trade and commerce from abusive practices such as like price fixing, like restraints on price, and then like discriminations against it. So with what happened in like my case is basically Microsoft was taking their software that they use in computers, such as like Intel Inside. You see it on every computer. And what they did is like they pretty much eliminated all their competition. So back in the 90s, if you're going to own a computer, it was going to be through Microsoft. And so basically, where I kind of speak about it is like a monopoly. Monopoly is like the exclusive possession or control or supply, complete command of a market. So like, they control all of the software and pretty much the whole PC market. Apple at the time wasn't like really prevalent, and I'll talk about it later in the case and how that works in my presentation. Anyways, basically, how can a company monopolize a free market? Well, what they were able to accomplish is they were able to take and write their software to where there was like using their copyright laws and put trademarks and patents on it that they could not, or nobody else could come in there and try to make anything even close to even run a PC off of. And so by being able to do that, you eliminate practically all your competition. So, and basically, some history about Microsoft. What is Microsoft? Microsoft is a software company. It was founded by Paul Allen and Bill Gates in 1975. It's a multinational, it's an American company. It's a multinational technology company headquartered in Redmond, Washington, and develops, manufactures, licenses, and supports and sells computer software. So Microsoft is also the biggest computer software company to today's date, and they always have been. They have multiple things, like they have a hand in Android. Whoever has Android phones, you got part of Microsoft with you. Such that, and then also Xbox, which is their most common selling thing out of anything. They sell more Xboxes, or they have, than computers, believe it or not. And so, basically, investigation started back in all the way back in 1994, and then May of 1998, the U.S. Department of Justice and 20 individual states and the District of Columbia sued the company and Microsoft. So, also, they violated numerous antitrust agreements and were a violation of Section 2 of the Sherman Act, which Sherman Act dates back to 1890, which is, it laid out the market where you couldn't have monopolies anymore. So, such as, let's see, like the oil companies that Rockefeller had back in the 1890s and carried steel. So to prevent what they were doing, which Microsoft was doing that anyways. Let's see. Basically, Microsoft controlled over 90% or more of the market during the 1990s. So when the government was building their case against Microsoft, they looked at the other competitors and they pretty much said, what competitors? I mean, Apple is a competitor, but technically they didn't even claim Apple as a competitor at all, because that's how significant, how much control they had over the market. And so basically, when investigations started, they also started investigating Intel and Google. So it brought up like, wow, this market, this whole technology market, as popular as it's becoming, how much it's growing, that there's a lot of other stuff going on here. It's not just Microsoft that's at fault. There's other companies. And so the very first government investigation of Microsoft was conducted by the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission, and it was in 1990. It never gave me an exact date or time. Pretty much what happened in that case is it was investigated, and then it was brought forth by a set of 5 judges, and one judge did not show up or partake in the judgment, and then it ended up being a tie. It was 2-2 on the vote, and so Microsoft ended up winning that case. And so then a year later, a second investigation, on July 15, 1994, was started by the Department of Justice, the DOJ, and pretty much what they did is they went through and reviewed previously what happened and what was gathered between the FTC earlier in 1990. And so pretty much when they were investigating, another issue rose up that that it was 1996 that the use of Internet Explorer, that to access the internet at the time of the World Wide Web, that you needed some kind of software to allow you to do that. And so basically Microsoft claimed the only entry exploit to the internet. So how you have Safari and Mozilla and Firefox and all that, you didn't have that back then. All you have is Internet Explorer. So say if Apple wanted to do something, they couldn't because Microsoft owned it. And so basically the government Microsoft argued, there it is. The government argued that Microsoft possessed a monopoly power in the market for operating systems, and so that was their argument. And then what Microsoft's argument is it denied monopoly power and claimed the government's argument was invalid and irrelevant to market definition. Also argued that the focus should be on platforms, on the platform operating system, not on an operating system. And basically, a platform is like the encryption in the software. So that's what a platform is. And so it wasn't on the actual operating system, such as Intel. And then Microsoft also argued that other non-profit systems such as middleware could also serve as a platform. And then the case continued. The case was tried all the way through the federal court district from October 19th, 1998 through June 24th, 1999. The court reached its findings on November 5th, 1999, includes legal investigation on April 3rd, 2000. Then a settlement was then agreed upon on November 1st, 2002. And then pretty much those are my works cited and everything. And that's about it. And then, also thank you for the use of the book and everything. Wouldn't be able to do it without that. And basically, and that's all.
Thank you. that follow, your fellow presenter and, you just come back? Okay.
What if she gets sent in the sheet whoever came today like passes? I'll be fucking happy.
I was kind of hoping that, like extra credit.
That was a pain in the fucking ass.
Wait for it.
I guess. Yeah, you won't.
Grading you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's the one
grading.
Yeah, no, that's.
She like my article was ass, dude. It was the same. It was literally the same thing. Like the whole that was like 100 pages long, and I read the whole thing.
No.
It had like 5 varying details. Pretty much all it talked about was like, oh, yep, they got sued.
Right. Like, what is the same?
Gotta bring
points,
the,
right?
You gotta bring the pizzazz. If that's the case, you gotta. If the book's dry as hell, then you gotta
That's
be
why I said I
mad.
would.
I was dude. I was trying. I had like I made up so many fucking details. And it was like, and then it was like, yeah, Microsoft got sued by like 50 fucking states and then the U.S. government and everything else. Well, then they got sued by like a bunch of individuals.
Was there any information on like why those specific things individually? Should those 20?
My man was trying to
She was
skate.
not-
She wasn't allowed.
Nah, she was not trying to have that shit.
Shit, the other one walked out.
Yeah, you're in a fucking
Defensive
cell.
shopper bag.
She
She
was
like
pretty
that.
much. I was like, she was just like,
This is your
She
prison.
has great defensive awareness, bro. That
Yeah, you
shit
should just walked in the
wild.
bathroom.
I damn.
I would have walked in the bathroom and waited in there for like 5 minutes.
You don't have
I bet you she would have been sitting outside.
Probably.
So bitches is at high school.
She was like,
I pay to be here.
You're leaving hours, you know.
yeah, I did.
That's your best chance to leave. That's
Nah,
your
cause she gonna be
stuff.
looking for when she come back.
Oh yeah, true.
Oh yeah, that's the
Facts.
first spot she's gonna look when she watch. She gonna eye contact. Watch.
I hate that.
Yeah, they're gonna make eye
She
contact
like,
when she walks
comes in.
in.
She be getting niggas with mean eye contact, bro. For that.
She gonna give you the dirty look. She know you wanted to leave.
Yeah.
That's what she
I was
said.
about to
That's
be
what
out.
I'm
'Cause
trying
I thought we was gonna actually learn something today, but
I had so much other shit.
I thought she was gonna
She
say.
What'd she
was
say to
so
you? I
bad.
couldn't hear what she
She's
said.
straight, bro. She's straight.
Bruh, I'm about to knock your ass out because she really do look good as fuck. I can't even let you say that.
Nah, she bad. She
That shit.
I hit her with that. She's straight. I
Hey.
hate when niggas say nothing about her. Just like a
Oh,
10.
God.
Talk about lit last night.
Oh yeah, that shit was
That
lit.
I hate that.
Alright,
I hate it.
my name's Michelle Webb, and I'm doing mine on the Spirit Airlines and Northwest Airlines. It's the predatory pricing, and there are a couple of terms you have to know in the beginning. So the predatory pricing, that's when a firm lowers its prices to make their competition lead. So what the Northwest Airline did was lower the prices extremely. Then Section 2 of the Sherman Antitrust Act, it makes it unlawful to monopolize or attempt to monopolize against or with another firm within several states or foreign nations. So Spirit Airlines is a smaller firm than Northwest. Northwest, they did theirs more like worldwide, and Spirit did theirs within the country. And when Spirit entered the market, Northwest Airlines decreased their prices to like $77 a ticket. That was the average, and Spirit Airlines couldn't keep up with it, and they were having a price war over 2 routes. It's the Detroit and Philadelphia, and Detroit and Boston. And Spirit tried to sue Northwest for trying to monopolize, and the Northwest argument, they said that they didn't do anything illegal, like they didn't do no type of predatory pricing that fell under the legal definition. And the courts agreed with them, so they dismissed the case and sent it to district court. And Northwest Airlines had all the market power too. So the smaller firm, Spirit, they couldn't do much because they didn't have the money. But Northwest did. They had a lot of money. And then the argument is that they had to do the price sensitive passengers, and they were the more responsible ones to the price change than, like, say somebody going on a business trip, because that's getting paid for by the business, or whose destination started somewhere else and it's ending somewhere else. Not like it didn't start in Detroit or Boston within those areas, but they say it started in Charlotte, and then Detroit to Boston was just one of the flights to get to maybe California, something of that nature. And then Northwest said that people going on those destinations took up seats too, so they had to include them in that, and that focused more on the supply than their demand. So the decision was that Northwest didn't participate in any definition of predatory pricing, and later on they went bankrupt, which kept Spirit from furthering the case and doing their final case for the situation. So they have yet to come up with a conclusion for it because, you know, Northwest ain't got the money. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Alright, we finished early. Please sign your name. Okay.
I was about to you sorry too. I was gonna say something.
So I'm going to.
This pretty good, bro. Proud of John. Fuck this.
So any other question for the last class? I'm gonna be here on Wednesday and to give you office hour if you want to see me.
Damn, that's a Ross back.
On Wednesday, if you want to see me on Wednesday, please, write to me, tell me what time you can come in. And then we'll have exam at 10:45 on Friday, okay? And each of you, this presenter is going to get some credits today, and it will reflect that, on the blackboard. You will see. I'm going to enter the grade, in a couple of minutes. Okay, so you will see. And, again, there will be some question because I have each one of your slides. So I'm going to look at the content. I'm going to come up with some multiple choice question on each case. We have 4 cases, so I'm going to have 4 questions there. Okay, so you may, if you want to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the presentation slides on the blackboard so everybody can see it, and you can study it, if you were not paying attention to it.
I'll read it.
Huh?
I changed mine up a little bit, so I'll read it.
Okay, okay, yes, okay, please do that. Any other question? Any other question?
I'm taking the test Wednesday.
Yes. Any other question?
I had to take that light right. I was like, wait, I don't bother you. Like, where did you come from? He said it's so random. What?
We have to be punished for that too. It's like as a whole, or was it just as a whole?